G'day guys. Today I'm with my wife Lisa. She's looking absolutely smoking today. We're going to do something a bit different today because I'm really bad at talking about myself. I thought this year I'm going to start trying to become a bit more of an open book, share a bit more about myself. So I thought to kick things off in this light and to have a bit of a laugh, for all of you, Lisa will be taking the piss of me for about the next 10 minutes. We thought we'd talk about what's it actually like to live with me. So we've been together for 12 years now?
12 years, yeah.
12 long years. We've been through so many different things, good times, kids, hard times.
Yeah.
Both being there for each other through thick and thin and sort of come out the other side and both finding ourselves in our voices a lot at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
So, let's go back to the start. I thought it'd be funny to hear a bit about your thoughts on what I was like 10 years ago. So, who was I back then from your perspective and what was I like?
You were always super ambitious. You have more self-drive and ambition in your little pinky than most people I've ever met. So I always knew you were going to do great things. I just, it wasn't focused, was it?
I'll slip you the $5 though, thank you.
No,
I told her to say
it wasn't focused. I feel like we had lots of little things that we were trying out and you were trying to make other business ideas work all the time. So I feel like that part of you is always there. You've always been very driven.
Remember my little bag of books that your dad made me throw out?
Oh my God, there was a whole rainbow bag. Did we lug them to Sydney?
Yeah, I took them to Sydney. So we moved to Sydney when I got into IBM's Global Graduate Program, I think in 2011. And we had everything that we owned in our whole life in one tiny little 2-door Toyota Echo. And the only thing that I took personally was my bag of my top 200 books or something like that.
And you highlighted them all and you would underline everything. And you were so convinced that one day you would go back through and take all of the notes out of those books.
But I never did. There were books that I read 2 or 3 times over and I never went back and took those notes into something. I had this grand idea once from Jim Rohn that I'd take the notes, put them into a summary for myself, but that just went into my mental bank.
There was too many books.
Too many books.
Too many books.
What was it like our personal life at that time? Because people often think that it's always been this good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always been like that. But let's talk about the reality of our life when we first met.
Oh my gosh. We were so dysfunctional. We were so hot and cold. We'd be fully in love and inseparable. And then we would just be breaking up and I'd be moving back to my nan's house. And yeah, I think we knew we wanted to be together, but we were so young.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of just do we really want to settle down so quickly together? I think that was more the struggle than anything, hey?
For sure. I remember when I first met you, I was at university still.
Yeah.
I was on Centrelink getting $300 a week and working 8 hours a week at a bar. At the club that you used to come to sometimes, where we met. And we just had it felt like endless time. It was pre-kids, pre-responsibilities, pre-figuring out who you are and what your place is in the world. And we just chill out on the beach all day.
Yeah.
Eat out every night. Just live. I literally had $7 a week after all my expenses. We had no money. Massive Sunday backyard parties at our house with all our friends, and we'd have fires on the water where we were living. It was fun, eh?
Yeah, the money thing didn't really faze us.
No.
Yeah, I think I was going to TAFE and I was working 4 hours a week and getting a tiny bit of assistance from Centrelink, and we've still moved out together.
Yeah.
We were living in a little 1-bedroom apartment. Oh no, we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment with friends of ours at the time. But yeah, we didn't really care. We were just having so much fun together.
I stopped working in the nightclub as soon as I met Lisa, basically because I was so over it, and started just cleaning rooms. I was cleaning hotel.
Yeah.
And remember they used to get rid of furniture and I'd take the furniture and put it in my house that I was living in.
Yeah.
And they would give us a free room overlooking the water on the Sunshine Coast whenever I wanted it, as long as I'd clean the room. And we used to stay there like at least once a week. Eh?
Yeah,
that was sick.
Because when I met you, you were living in a share house with like a million different people and a million different vermin.
So many rats and
gross.
cockroaches in that house.
Yeah.
Being on the water, and it was like a shithole of a house. It was just yeah. And that was nice compared to the place I was at before that. So fast forwarding from there, like, you know, thinking back 5 years ago when I first started the business, like, who was I then from your perspective? Because I feel like we've grown so much.
Yeah, I feel like we had taken steps to the life that we wanted, but I think you weren't confident enough to just go and do it for yourself, like start your own business.
For sure.
You remember you like got fired and then you came home and you were like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, you are amazing at business, but you're such a shit employee. Like you do not care about office politics. You don't, like, the girls in the office would get angry with you because you wouldn't have lunch at the same time every day.
Yeah.
And they're like, Ben, there's a system here. Like, we all need to. So I was just like, let's just like, how much do we need to live? Like, we worked out how much we needed to live.
I think we'd just bought our 5th property or something at that time, and
Harper was 4 months old. So we had 2 kids and like a baby.
And so I remember for like the first 6 months before we decided that we were going to do this business, I literally laboured with Lisa's brother.
Yeah.
I was working as like a fencing labourer, working in like Ipswich, working in Brisbane, and then I'm like, nah, I've got to go get my real estate licence. I want to help people do what we've been doing for the last 5 years before that.
Yeah.
And that was when it all sort of started to change, which is amazing.
Yeah. I think we just needed to like be confident enough to say like, this is how much we need to survive, and then just let's take the leap and go for it.
I remember just having no confidence at that time, but so much confidence too. Like, you know, getting sacked from that job really sort of hurt my ego, because at that time I was still very much living in my ego body. But it also put a fire up my ass, I think. I've been watching the Michael Jordan docos at the moment, and with how competitive he was, and how when someone told him that he couldn't do something, he just wanted to prove everyone wrong. And I think with the way that I grew up, at that time I was just so motivated to show people that I was something and to get us financially free that, you know, that's when I was working like 70, 80, 100 hours a week when we first started the business, and just going full on at it. Yeah. Which was fun and crazy, raising little kids. And
I know. It was so fast paced, hey. And then, I don't know, I just feel like you were working all the time from then. We were just like committed to making the business work. Yeah. And then I didn't really see you a lot.
I really worked my ass off for that first 3.5, 4 years. Like, there were some days when I used to do strategy sessions on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I'd start them at 8 in the morning and finish at 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. And I'd do them back to back without a break for like, what's that? Like 15 hours a day almost. That was just my mentality at that time. I was like, I'm going to help people. I'm going to get us financially free. And that's exactly how to describe that time, just the hustle. Yeah. We also got married at that time. Yeah. We got married, had a beautiful little wedding. Honeymoon in Hawaii, which was so good. Oh my gosh, if I could be there right now and not homeschooling, that would be amazing. Like, I just want you guys to like recognize like how much your life can change in 5 years, because we just bought another property just before that honeymoon. Yeah. We just built it actually. Yeah. And like we did at that stage of our life, every time we had a deposit, we went and bought another property. And so we just bought another property, spent all of our savings. I remember getting over to the honeymoon in Hawaii, having like $500 in our bank account because of the money we just spent on this new house, and the wishing well, like the money that people gave us at our wedding paid for the honeymoon. Yeah. And while I was away, my sister signed up 2 new clients, and I was like, yes, we can have a honeymoon. Like, we were just balls to the wall at that time, eh? Like, save everything, invest everything. It never stressed us though, I don't think. Like, we were just like, as long as we had enough to keep our head above water, we were just happy to risk it all. Like, yeah, at that time. I'm such a pussy now compared to back then. I'm like so conservative. Yeah, that's true. No. Yeah. So let's talk about now. Like, obviously the last 3 years have been intense. Yeah. Because sort of 3 years ago, I basically had a mental breakdown and got anxiety, and we had to deal with that, which was really painful. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, well, I feel like we've only gotten better. Like, I think the hardest part was when our third son was born.
Yeah.
Because your anxiety was like peaking. I just had a baby. We had like kids home on school holidays and our eldest daughter was starting school. Like, it was just so much going on. And I just feel like we weren't emotionally equipped to deal with each other, where usually one would be like there to support the other.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think we both had like full mental breakdown. And then we were like, oh my God, we need to get it together. And we kind of just started.
We bought a caravan.
Yeah,
that was how we started to like get it together, I think.
Yeah, I think we just got back on the same page again.
I remember on our very first caravan trip, we were in the van one night, the kids had just gone to bed and Lisa's like, I just don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, just started to cry. I'm like, I fucking have no idea who I am anymore.
Yeah.
We'd both gone through school. We'd both got the qualifications. We'd both got the dream jobs. Like, we'd bought property. We'd had kids. We'd got married. We had money in the bank. We had our own business and we were still not happy. And this is what I want you guys to recognize. Like, it's such a journey to achieve, not just financially what you want to achieve or health-wise or family-wise, but just personally, you're the exact same person with the same issues yesterday, even if you have money coming in today.
Yeah.
And
more responsibility.
More responsibility, more pressure, more self-imposed pressure to do better. And I think we just went, who the hell are we? Like, we've got everything that society tells us we should do.
Yeah.
And that was the point where we changed everything.
Yeah. I remember I ordered like 3 self-help books and I was just like, I refuse to be this, like, I wouldn't even say I was unhappy. I was just like, I just wanted more. I wanted to be more of myself. I felt like I was just like giving and giving and giving and giving. And I was just like, my little bucket was just like going down and down and down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess like if your partner's starting to get into like personal development or whatever, like of course they're going to be telling you things. And then we just started helping each other more and listening to podcasts. And,
you know, some of the things that helped us, because Lisa started this and then I just jumped on it. I'd always been looking after myself, but sometimes when you get anxiety, you can't look after anyone else, let alone yourself. And I forgot that, you know, having goals was important. I forgot that training was important. I forgot that eating well and not drinking was important. Like, I forgot that, like, it's so simple to turn things around through meditation or through reading, through talking, through seeing people. The first thing we did was I slowed the business down. So we used to take on 15 clients a month and I turned it back to like somewhere between 8 and 10. Some months even as low as 4, depending on how we were feeling.
Yeah.
I started to work 4 days a week. You sort of started to piece together yourself. Like, I remember that Inner Mean Girl book you read. What was that called?
Mastering Your Inner Mean Girl.
And then you got me onto Slow, which changed both our lives.
Yeah, that's still like the most influential book I've read.
And then you got onto Oprah's Super Soul podcast with Eckhart Tolle, and that was when we went through a huge jump.
Yeah, but it's never like, all these things are never overnight. Like, it's such a long process and a journey. And I think if you like try and put time frames on yourself, it just adds more stress. Like, I think you should just look at all these things as it's a journey. You're never going to, there's no finish goal here.
Yeah, like it's so funny you say that, because like this morning I woke up not feeling great and so did Simon. We just recorded another podcast together.
Yeah.
And like, instead of the old days of like getting caught in that, we both looked after ourselves this morning. I went for a swim at the beach. I did some stretching. Like, this is the cool thing about having a partner like Lise that has my back, because I needed that this morning. You didn't know that I needed it, but I needed it. And like, I jumped around with the kids for an hour and danced, which is something I do when I'm feeling like low, because it gets me back in the moment. Had a couple of cups of tea and some good brekkie and had a good conversation with Simon, and then all of a sudden you start to feel good again.
Yeah. It's just like pinching those little moments for yourself to take a breather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about now, because the world has changed so much at the moment. We're obviously in self-isolation in our home.
Yeah.
You know, it's added another layer of like just helping us put stuff in perspective, hey? And like, for 10 years, we've just been going through project to project, and now we don't have a single project in front of us. It feels amazing, hey? Yeah.
I don't even think we could handle a project right now. Like, when you're forced to just, I think it's more the layer of the kids. Like, I don't know. I know people who have no children are like, oh, it's really hard as well. But I'm like, it just seems like a holiday to me. Like,
having no kids is a holiday. But at the time I was like, this is so real.
Yeah, I guess we have been forced to slow down. And also, like, not only projects, but we would go out on weekends, like, constantly. We'd be going to cafes and to the beach and surfing and seeing friends, having barbecues, like, just being forced to stay in your house also makes you
having like one friend or two people over at a time is like really different for us.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that life is fuller with other people in it. But I'm grateful like that we've gone through this incredible ride, like the ups and the downs, like regardless of how good or how hard your life feels right now, I can promise you that we've felt that way.
Yeah.
You know, I used to swing a lot. And I used to be 100% all in everything. And I think I still am. I still think I'm like, when I'm...
Oh, yeah, you get tunnel vision.
Yeah, when I'm interested in like our next investment, for example, like yesterday we finished saving our deposit for our next property.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to take a couple of months to buy it, but I know that that's next. And already I'm starting to get excited about that.
Yeah.
But it's also like taking the time to step back, observe your life, you know. Do you think, you know, what would you say about the choices that we've made? Because I feel like we've had so many things that have happened that have just been like destiny creating itself in front of us, but we've also chosen our life that we lead now. We've made a lot of non-conventional decisions to choose what we want to live, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we've just, in a way, lived within our means, like for our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like we haven't, like our first house was just this tiny little brick home in the back streets. Like it wasn't anything special, but then I guess we were the first of our friends to kind of have kids and do things like that. We had no one to like set the bar against.
Yeah, we weren't comparing against anyone, and we still don't.
We still don't. We kind of just do our own thing. Like when we're ready to buy a property, we buy it. Like we take risks, but they're calculated risks, and then we pull back on the lifestyle when we need to.
Yeah.
And we don't really care in a way.
Like our first little place was a deceased estate that we called the granny flat, and it was like a tiny little 3-bedder just down the road from KFC on the non-beach side. Cost us $310K. I love that house.
Yeah, because we had Summer, like our oldest child there. And even like, because she was the first, like I had pretty much never held a baby before I had her.
I'd never held a baby before.
They're like, Facebook was kind of a thing. Instagram was not a thing. Like we had a $50 Aldi pram. We hired a capsule for the car from the ambulance for $50.
Yeah.
Like we were sharing a car.
We had a 2-door car. We shared a car for like 7 years. Yeah. There's so many things that we delayed in terms of like material gratification.
Yeah.
Because we're still like, we're both aesthetic, but we're not material. Like I'm so fortunate for the home that we have now and how nice it looks and stuff. And I love getting to put on like a nice watch and some cool clothes. But outside of that, it's like very simple for us. Like we've never done anything that we couldn't do in cash. Like we haven't used equity to buy houses. We've saved our asses off. Like, we've never gone for the expensive homes. We like went from 300K, 200K, 300K, 400K, 400K, 400K. Like it's just it's been this tiny little progressive step up. And because we're both happy to do that, like it's ended up working out much better than those people that rush into that $1 million home straight up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know, what insight could you give people into me? Like, I don't know. It's a weird question.
Question.
It's a weird question, bro.
It is a weird question. I would say into you hate routine, but you love routine. You know, you say you hate routine, but then if you don't do like your meditation and yoga and stretching in the morning, you're a mess.
Yeah, fully.
And I think your downtime is well and truly like with your friends doing like exercise and activity. I would say like your self-drive is insane. Like I don't know anyone who's as disciplined. Like you need no motivation other than yourself to like get things done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know, you do still have really bad anxiety flare-ups, but we can manage them a lot better now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. You're pretty good as a husband.
Not bad.
Not bad. And yeah, you're so good as a dad. Like the kids just adore you.
Yeah. I'm just a big kid with my kids.
You are. You're like my fourth kid.
We laugh about I'm like the fourth kid. And it's like my approach to parenting is have the sickest time with my kids.
Yeah, I think
teach
you're
them
good
all the
now.
stuff we missed out on.
You're good now at switching between work and home.
Yes.
Where I feel like for a long time it was a real
couldn't
struggle.
switch off,
yeah, yeah.
Fuck, I didn't even notice that. But like, I've actually been better. I used to come home from doing sessions so wound up, and I'd go to bed at like 2 a.m. because I mean, if I did sessions between 8 a.m. and 11 o'clock 2 days in a row, I'd still be a mess.
Yeah.
But like, now that we just do the 6-7 sessions a day, it's so much better.
Yeah, for sure. You're way less wound up. Like, remember when we first got together and you used to have really bad night terrors?
Yeah.
Like, his brain would just be going when we would go to bed, and you'd just wake up like screaming and like yelling at things and
so crazy. Like, I had this vision for exactly how my life is now 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I could see that we would be exactly here. I knew that we were going to work for ourselves. I knew that we were going to have incredible kids. I knew that our life would be a fun adventure. I knew that we'd have properties that we're slowly paying off and will slowly pay off over 15 years to get financial freedom.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that I could see it so clearly, and I think the frustrating thing, it wasn't happening fast enough. And I know you guys can empathize with this. Like, if you've got a vision for your life, but the results in your life aren't currently looking like it, it was just one step in front of the other slowly over 10 years. But because of the smart decisions that we started to make all the way back then, you know, it's slowly now starting to work out in a more positive way.
Yeah, we didn't like not live either.
Nah.
Like I know there's people who are saving and they just stop living.
Yeah.
Where we just continued our life, just like a cheaper version, you know what I mean, while we were saving.
For sure. Like, I can't remember anything that I felt like we put on hold, but because we're so into the simple things in life, it's not expensive to live our way.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's been just a hell of a ride, and I'm like so grateful to have you in my life. And Lisa might be doing a bit more stuff on camera just to give you guys a different perspective on what's going on, and, you know, also just a deeper insight into us, because I definitely don't want you guys to think that everything's just easy for us or it's been easy.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to think that we're anything that you couldn't achieve as well. Like, we're not financially free yet through our properties because we invested in our home that we're living in now.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's going to take time. We're still buying the houses, we're still building the granny flats. We've sold a lot of the data, like the worst of properties we had, and we're slowly starting to rebuy. Like, we're not rolling in cash or anything like that. We're just always earned a moderate amount of money, and we've just been really smart with that money. Like, in fact, for like the first half of this whole thing, we're earning like way below the average household income in Australia. We're super smart with what we've done as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you being on. I don't know where to take it from here. I love you.
Love you.
See you soon, guys.